Weightless weddings, anyone? Whether it's getting hitched or just because you want to do some somersaults, there are all sorts of fun things you can do on board a zero-gravity flight. That's where you feel what it's like to be an astronaut. The company behind it says bookings have skyrocketed, pardon the pun, in part thanks to space tourism flights offered by Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Talking of which, the SpaceX founder himself was pictured here, as you can see, enjoying a ride of his own, along with the movie director James Cameron and the late Stephen Hawking. So how does this all work? Well, once the specially adapted jet reaches 24,000 feet, the pilot increases the angle to around 45 degrees relative to the horizon. And during this phase, passengers feel the pull of 1.8 G before the plane pushes over the top of the arc and zero-gravity phase kicks in and lasts for around 20 to 30 seconds. Then the pilot gently pulls out of the maneuver, the passengers return to the floor of the aircraft, and this is repeated 15 times over the course of the flight. Matt Gohd is the CEO of ZeroG Corporation, and he joins us now. Matt, did I get all that right? Because as you can see, I'm clearly very excited about the process.
Well, you know, I've been looking for a salesperson, Julia, and for some reason, online thing doesn't really work out for you. You want to have a little more fun, come join us.
Not sure you can afford me, my friend. Talk about how it all works and how many people go up in a flight and the response that you've seen, particularly in light, as I mentioned, of what's going on with SpaceX and Blue Origin, because surely everyone's aware of this now as a potential opportunity.
For sure they are, and in no particular order. About 28 passengers come up with us, and we fly through various parts of the country. We have a flight coming up in about 10 days in Houston, then we're up in New York, Los Angeles, Vegas. We have about 10 places we fly out of for our consumer flights. And then, you know, we also, a significant amount what we do is research. So those are kind of the things, and, you know, how people react to it. The responses range from, this changed my life, greatest thing I've ever done, I can't believe this is possible, what a dream. So those are pretty much the four top responses. And, you know, how we achieve it is, you know, again, like you described, flying the plane in a parabola. And as you get up towards that parabola, you separate from gravity. And for, you know, almost 30 seconds, you're, you know, flying and not experiencing what it feels like to be constrained on Earth.
Have you ever had someone get through the first arc and say, OK, I don't like this, I'm going to go back to my seat and strap in because there's 14 more of those to go?
No, that has never happened. I mean,
no.
First of all, the first four parabolas we do are being what it's like to be on the moon. So if you want to try one small step for man, one giant step for mankind, you can do that. My favorite is doing push-ups. And again, you look at me, you know, I look like an athlete. And the fact that I can basically, you know, do a push-up, and as I go up into the air, I mean, I do a push-up and I'm going do like this, and then I do it with one arm, do it with a pinky, so I can really make myself look strong. But that's a very cool thing to do in lunar gravity. So we give people a chance to kind of get a feeling for what it's like before we then go into zero gravity.
Yeah, those one-fingered push-ups there, a definite attraction. Let's talk about the cost of this, because it's, I believe, $8,500 plus taxes. But just to compare it to the millions of dollars that you would pay if you were lucky enough to win a seat on one of the rockets that go up for Blue Origin or SpaceX that we're seeing, you experience far more time weightless on this relative to that too.
We do. So going up with Blue and soon to be with Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic, you'll get about 3-ish minutes with them. And that's time, you know, to get out of your seat, float around, look out the window, get back to your seat, and come down. And again, I wouldn't diminish it at all. I would love to do either of those experiences, but it's a bit different than ours. You know, here we're getting 15 sessions of between 20 and 30 seconds, and you get to learn from each one what you're going to do the next time. So you have twice as much time, and also you have a learning curve that you can continue to improve and change the things that you do.
Yeah, I mean, it still feels expensive, but relative to what they're offering, it's a tiny fraction. It's not just about the fun of experience weightlessness either. I mean, you also carry out research for NASA, for MIT. I believe the first 3D printing of a human heart in microgravity was carried out, and 3D printers are now on the International Space Station as a result. What can you tell us about that? Because this is fascinating too.
So basically what happens is that, there's this, how do things react in space? So what they'll do is they'll create an experiment to come up on the plane. They're doing more like 30 parabolas. So they're getting closer to 15 minutes of actual microgravity time to see how things react. So again, the first step for getting a 3D printer to space was to test it out in ZeroG. And a lot of things that happen are done that way. Where how do things act in space? How do fluids transfer? How do different materials react? All those things are critical to know before you start sending them up there. So we've done, I would say 30 to 40% of the flights we do are research-based on things like that. And now with the advent of space stations being developed over the next 10 years, there's even a larger demand of seeing how those things will act in a microgravity environment.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I guess one of the other questions I'll ask, because I know somebody at home will be wondering about this, carbon footprint?
So we, unfortunately, we fly a commercial jet. It's a Boeing 727. It's, basically the same size of a 737. We are anxiously looking forward to when we'll be able to get a biomass kind of jet fuel. And I know there are those in development. At some point they'll be available. But right now, unfortunately, we're burning fuel like everybody else does. We're exploring, offsets and things like that. But, and right now we have a 3-engine, gas guzzling, plane, and we're in the same position as Delta and everybody else, and Emirates and anybody else who has to fly these things.
Yeah, I guess maybe offering an offset. People pay a bit more if they're willing to pay this much. Maybe pay a bit more to do some offsets if they want to do it personally for themselves. Maybe an option. Matt, very quickly, I have no time left. Tell me what it feels like in your mind.
It's. In my mind, it's literally you're suspended in air. You're kind of lost on what it feels like. It is a completely ethereal experience. You have no bearing on where you are. The best thing is when you're upside down, blood is not traveling to your head, so you don't know what is up, what is down, or right or left. So I strongly encourage you to come join us, Julia. And for anybody else that's had that dream of what it's like to be in space, we train astronauts. Come feel what it's like to be an astronaut.
Where do I sign? I would love to come. I just want to do some somersaults. I'm very excited. Matt will reconvene. My whole team is in my ear now going, what about me? Great to have you with us,
thank you
Matt.
so much, and have a great summer weekend.
Thank you, and I'll consider the job offer. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
The CEO of ZeroG Corporation. Thank you.